Hey, what's everybody? This is your host,
Nico.
and Irvin, and this is Shining Spotlight, the stream where we highlight creatives in order to inspire you guys. Today we have an insanely talented creative, one that graduated from SCAD. She's been on the scene for a couple years now, and she's shaking up things a bit with her manga series webtoon, Seeds of Doubt. With a great grand slam and glimmer of hope, we welcome the creator of the series Seeds of Doubt to the show, Tani Andrews. Thank you so much for coming today. We really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so obviously, we have a lot we want to ask you about, and a lot we want to talk about as it relates to, your manga. But before we actually really dive into the thick of it, of course, we want to throw it up on the screen a little bit just so people can kind of see it a little bit, just a picture from it, and a page from the comic as well. If for those who aren't familiar with the web comic, can you just tell us a little bit about the story itself? For maybe those of us who haven't actually seen it.
Okay, well, it's basically a coming of age story about two boys, Kyofu and Yuri, who save their home world from monsters that are born from literal anxiety and depression. And they basically learn to overcome their own inner demons and long of saving their home world as well.
Okay. So what I'm kind of curious about, obviously, from looking at this story, right, from being able to kind of look into where do you get some of the inspiration from some of the designs? Because I know I read that you're a big Tetsuya Nomura fan, and for those who
Yes.
don't know about that, that's like Kingdom Hearts. So I already know.
You
So
already know.
can you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about your journey and kind of where some of your influences come from?
Okay. Like you said, I derived my art style and everything from Tetsuya Nomura. I kind of just played around with different artists I liked and picked a lot of things from like Akira Amano, who did Reborn. If you're familiar with that anime, I picked up a lot of stuff from her style as well, and kind of
That's like
smashed.
Katakyo
Yes,
Hitman Reborn. Okay, I got you.
yes.
I'm like, okay, I know what you're talking about.
So I kind of smashed a bunch of different art styles together to make my own, and yeah, that's how it goes.
Interesting. Okay. Now I got you on that. It's funny, like when I'm even looking at like some of your more of like your pieces that you have, like your pinup pieces, I'm
Mm.
looking at how nice they are, like the way that you've crafted a lot of them. And I'm really digging like the colors that you use, to be honest.
Yeah.
Um so what I'm kind of curious about is like when it comes to your process as far as like when you're actually designing characters. You mentioned how you kind of go through and you kind of got a lot of your inspiration from a lot of the mangaka that you mentioned,
Mm.
but when you ended up going to SCAD, how did that kind of cement your foundation? Like, what did you learn when you were at SCAD?
I learned basically how to make a comic like from ground zero. I start off with thumbnails or breakdowns, which are like tiny little rough drafts of what's going to happen in the story, and then you blow it up like 11 by 17, and then you draw it out, and then you shrink it back down to the manga format, and that's just basically what I learned from SCAD. I also learned how to tone screen tones like in Japanese manga, and um, I just learned the industry and how things work in the both Western industry and in Japan as well.
Okay. So, from what I read, research about you, a lot of what you know while you did graduate from SCAD, a lot of what you know ended up being self-taught.
Yes.
I mean, could you tell me a little bit more about that? Because I was looking at some of your stuff, and one of the things that stood out was that you had kind of a structured way of your stories still having the same vision. And usually, those that are self-taught, they don't really know to do that. So, where'd you kind of learn this?
Um, it's a lot of trial and error came
Yeah,
out of that.
yeah. I mean, tell us about it. Like, I know a lot of people that or a lot of professionals starting out in this industry, when they go through like a trial and error process like this, they have nightmare stories where they couldn't keep consistency. It was had the hardest time with deadlines, and even when they tried to partner with people, it was like the worst when it came to communication or just even trying to deal with, let's say, the behavior or anything. I mean, tell us a bit about it.
Okay. I think it was my second year in SCAD. I learned to just start things earlier, and I just rebuilt my work ethic until I was able to finish projects and things a lot earlier than my other classmates. And then I learned to get faster with my drawings and things like that. So deadlines didn't really start bothering me at all. So I got used to them. As far as consistency, I would use sketchbooks all the time and just draw my characters and draw them in different poses and positions until it was just second nature to me.
Okay. And so let's say, because I know you did quite a few different stories like Strike L and obviously Season Down right now. Look like you work with, what was it, Japan Fest and JASG?
Yes.
Did you happen to work with a team, or did you do that entirely solo?
I was working with a lot of people, but I did the main art stuff as far as that goes. So
what was it like when you were working with the team?
It was interesting. A lot of the team was speaking Japanese, so I had to go back and forth between two languages.
Yeah.
Okay, I got to ask you about. So, okay, when you first got to Japan, right?
Yes.
So I'm assuming, like, I don't want to make too many assumptions, but I'm assuming, obviously you was over there to be able to, like, as an extension to while you were in SCAD. Am I correct or no?
Actually, I went to Japan undergrad.
Okay. I wanted to make sure I understood this distinction. Yeah. Okay. So did that actually kind of further, while you were over there, since that was before you went to SCAD, kind of fuel you to want to expand into, kind of going into the program?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So what more, I guess what I'm curious about is, like, with in Japan, like, did you ever meet like any like mangaka? Was there any anything that kind of that you learned over there that maybe we over here in the West, wouldn't necessarily have access to like that?
Not really. I just being exposed to Japan and being there for the first time really opened my eyes of, like, maybe I can be a mangaka one day. Going to Akihabara, Shinjuku, and all those places really inspired me to keep going, if that makes sense.
Yeah, see, I haven't personally gone myself, but I hear this guy talk about it all the time. So, when I hear some of the guys that I know, their stories about when they went to Japan, I can see how it makes you like, wow, this just happened. Slash, it's real.
Did you go to the Kyoto International Manga Museum? Please tell me you did.
I did not get. I didn't go.
It's okay, because I didn't either. But I was at least hoping someone did, because I'm like, I hear so much about it, and it's like, I don't know. It almost feels like some kind of like mecca of like manga. Did you go to the Osamu Tezuka Museum?
I did not get the chance to go there.
Okay.
He's actually one of the people I'm inspired by as well.
Okay. Yeah, it's I think a lot of us that ended up getting more involved with like the history of manga really have an appreciation for that, man. But really going back to the process here, because a lot of folks that are watching this, they're really like keying in on like how the process of doing manga, and especially for someone like yourself who's already starting to make a name as pretty much self-taught. There's a lot of folks in this industry that are pretty much starting out just like you, and some of them default to commissions because they just find sequential work to be like, wow, I don't know what I'm doing. So how are you? I just want to know how are you making this happen?
Surprisingly, commissions are harder for me. I like doing sequential work a lot more.
Mhm.
So for me, I'm just taking it one day at a time and just really building up
Mhm.
on what I've already done. So
Yep. Let's go back to this. Let's go to Seeds of Doubt, right? Real quick. Like, all
okay.
right, how did you how did you start the planning process for this? Come up with the premise and really just get going with it.
It
Yeah, I
actually
want to know step by step. I'm like the nitty gritty on how all this works. To be honest, I'm super excited. So
it actually started off as an assignment for class in SCAD.
Huh?
It was a
Really?
4-page comic. Um, I just I was dealing with my anxiety at the time and my depression that I suffer from, and I just started building a character like what if there's a boy who was a fear, and then there's a boy of courage who helps that boy of fear, and that's kind of how it started. And then another class later in my last year of SCAD, I took it and I built upon the story, and then I took it even further after graduating. Um, I started building the concept of what a child of fear, child of courage. Then I added child of order, child of knowledge, and have built their foundation upon what their city does and how their society is structured. And then I started building upon the story, like what is Yuri and Kofu's story together, and like focus on like my stories are always character driven. I always focus on what are the characters doing
Mm.
and how they impact the world as well. So
Character driven story. And just like we just got in the comment section, go ahead and throw that one up. I I imagine those TV set a classic way to create a story. Yeah, that like starting with from a class project, 4 pages. I'm like, yeah, that's it seems to be a bit of a classic way to start a story. Really, I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, this kind of like some of our projects we would do, outside of the show.
mm,
real quick, I don't want to cut anybody off, but I do want to say, if you guys are just now checking out the show, make sure you throw up a like and also make sure you subscribe to the channel as well to keep up with the updates on everything that we have coming up. We want to make sure that this video blows up and goes big. We want to turn that seed of doubt into a seed of action. I don't know. I'm trying to think
Seed of
of something.
courage. What?
Or
The
seed of
courage route.
courage.
What's up?
Seed of courage, something. You know what I mean. Having a little fun. But
So let's kind of get into the nitty gritty of this story because one of the things you that I saw about reading up about you and that you kind of mentioned is that a lot of your stories revolve around self-worth.
yes.
So, and I guess without getting too personal, tell me why self-worth of all things.
It's something that I personally struggle with.
Yeah.
So a lot of how my characters feel is how I felt in the past. So I just use my own experiences and then translate them into a story that someone else can read and say and feel like same, like, oh yeah, I felt that before kind of thing. So
Okay. And I'm assuming that's what these different pillar or routes are they span from the route of courage, order, fear, and I forget the
knowledge is the last
knowledge.
one.
Okay, I'm assuming these some way or another span from this self-worth
Yes.
vision. Could you expand upon those a bit?
In the story, there's 4 pillar system. It's courage. They're seen as the soldiers, the warriors, strong, diligent leaders. Knowledge, wise, wisdom. Order is bureaucracy, and then fear is the rare pillar that no one really knows what it's about, but it's always connected to the infliction where people are turning into monsters born from anxiety, known as the Kyofun. So it just kind of goes around with that as the basis of their society and with that, it's like a child of courage may feel fear, but they won't feel it as much technically.
Hmm.
But in the story, you find out no, you could feel fear just as much as anyone else, and that all the pillars are disconnected. Which I can't explain how that'll spoil the whole story.
Fair enough.
so,
Because I was going to ask, why is the pillar of fear like so rare?
there's a reason. There's a reason.
Okay, is there any way to explain that without spoiling the story
No, it
or
would
tease?
spoil the whole story.
Okay. Fair enough. All right, so
And already piqued our curiosity,
right,
tenfold.
it's because I do think that's interesting. What all the pillars are somehow in some way connected to fear. That's interesting. What's what the real world basis for that?
We're I just kind of made it up. I based it on how I've seen people deal with anxiety, panic attacks, things like that, and how it affects people. And that's the main basis is mental health.
I really like that, because you think about like, especially within, I would say like today, I feel like a lot of people don't really understand the gravity, of how important mental health is. You think about like suicide rates, not to get morbid with anybody, talking about suicide rates, you think about people that have conditions or whatever, and people, you need more stories that kind of dive into that type of stuff. So
Yeah.
I think that's good.
Kyophone.
One,
Well, just real quick, Kyophone. What did that come from?
Kyofu. His name literally means fear in Japanese.
Oh, okay. I was like, what is that?
interesting. Okay. So
Okay.
I have to say that when I look at a lot of your work, it has a lot of style to it.
A lot.
Like I know that's kind of like, I think if I'm not mistaken, your character avatar.
Yeah.
But I even thought this looked pretty dope. I'm not even gonna lie. I don't know why it kind of reminded me of like kind of like, I don't know, like it gave me like a Prince impression a little bit for a second, and then I'm like, I don't know, but it I definitely I guess I kind of want to know, where do you get a lot of your inspiration when it comes to like the clothing and everything of your characters?
Harajuku fashion. I look at street fashion from London, Korea, Japan, of course, and then I mix it together. Like I like military fashion, Harajuku style with dakara and stuff like that. So
Let me guess,
Okay.
steampunk somewhere in there too.
yes, yes, steampunk too.
Shout out to my steampunk fans out there. You already know what it is.
Okay, I got to give a shout out. Looks like we have Antoine Swift, just mental health in general. I agreed. I think that was a comment previously on what we just spoke on, and I got to give an extra shout out to Antoine. Thanks for showing up. Let's see here. Okay. And then another comment from Imaginos TV. I love Tani's style choices. Thank you so much, Imaginos TV. All right. Now we can move on to kind of get into some more interesting things, I guess, or interesting topics. What do you think about the state of the OEL community? Last episode, we did an interview with Queenie Chan, and Queenie Chan, if you're watching, thank you again for that interview. I do want to ask, like, okay, with a lot of the newer mangakas, such as like you or even myself, what do you think of like, first off, do you know what OEL is before I even get into this question? Okay, I want to make sure I say that. Okay.
Yeah, just a reminder for anyone watching the show, original English language. Original English language manga is the term used for the Western manga creators here in the West. Go ahead.
From the standpoint of someone coming into OEL or being a part of like the newer wave is what people may look at it as. How do you feel about it in comparison with the old?
It's a lot better. I've done research on OELs for my thesis at SCAD. And the first wave, as much as they tried to pioneer, it was really just not there, if that makes sense. But now I feel like people are taking everything they've learned from that first wave and applying it and putting it into like top-notch quality manga. So
Yeah, I mean, what? So, in the first wave, where do you think they really messed up at specifically?
um, I know a lot of them lost their copyright rights through like to Tokyo Pop and things like that.
Back to the
So
Tokyo Pop. Oh my goodness. Yeah,
so
continue.
it was things like that, and a lot of people were rushing instead of building foundation like the basics of art, rushing to get a style and make manga instead of like take. You still have to know how to draw at the end of the day, even if it's a manga style. You just have to apply the foundations into a manga style, which a lot of people failed to do in that first wave.
Hmm. Yeah, I like you mentioned that because I know you mentioned it earlier, or when you were describing why you had your vision earlier. One of the things that piqued my ears was that the phrasing of originality. You know, you want to be relatable to your audience. And I think that's what a lot of the second wave started. They had to disconnect that. You know, where they didn't understand that. You know, not to chase the flair or just to copy the medium just for the fan basis of it. It's like, you know, these are their personal stories and experiences or moments of time that they personally experience that they're basically putting out there for you to read. So that I like you put that out there.
Yeah.
What what do you think? I mean, in our last interview with Queen Chan, I mean, it was brought up with a lot of the mistakes that the first wave did, and I mean, you know, it seems like they passed the torch to the second wave, and like we kind of introduced the floor with. I mean, what do you think is what more solutions do you think we could do to really push it out there? Because I mean, we got so momentum going, but obviously we're still pretty much like a bunch of lone wolves and different isolated groups out there.
That's a good question. I think forming a community, like making those lone wolves get to know each other, because that's something that I had at SCAD was a community where I can piggyback on somebody and say, "Oh yeah, that's a good idea. I can add that to my story," and things like that. I think community, more of a community.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, I mean, like, I always see a community as it would be ideal. It's just how do you get there?
yeah,
Because obviously, you know, if there's one thing we can say about our generation, you know, whether it's offline or online, we'll talk. We'll talk all day. But I mean, I know some people that, you know, they got low patience slash it'd be like, you know, all right, I only got a certain tolerance for this person.
mm,
Um, you know, a lot of them don't go. I mean, we have access to a lot of information, but a lot of us, you know, we see what's face first and not go check out history. I mean, how do you get us to sit down and like actually, you know, like talk or, you know, look into this stuff to even begin with?
that's a good question. I just know, like in Japan, they have their community basis off apprenticeship, where
Yeah.
one person will learn under another person, and then they will carry the torch, and that's how they started their network. Like from like Oda learning from um Akira Toriyama and stuff like that.
Mhm.
One thing that I kind of question when it comes to OEO, so I'm curious what you think about this. Like, have we really in like I'm gonna say like OEL 2.0, if we want to call it, have we really found our voice? You know, our true voice? Because you know, while you may have found your voice, there is a lot of creators out there that they talk from more of a they don't really seem like they're really saying much in their stories. It's more so just from a they're just telling a fantasy story,
Mm.
and there's not really anything said outside of it. I mean, how many medieval like webtoons are there out there? But are they really doing anything different than saving the princess? So, do you have like a anything more? I guess do you Do you have any stories out there in particular that maybe you're seeing something that maybe a lot of us aren't seeing? Like ones that maybe you might recommend, or
I can't think of any on the top of my head. It's like you said, it seems like everyone's trying to save the princess. So
Which goes back to what Queenie Chan was saying before about and I know there was a couple others that touched on that in a weird interview. I just can't think of them right now. But where they touched on that, it seems like everybody's mistaken fantasy for a genre.
yeah, it's like urban fantasy. It's like the main thing, and it's just. I think if people explored other stories just besides fantasy, it would be a lot of more broader, and a lot more stories would start coming out that are really good if they really take the time.
Well, it's not even the fact that they're exploring fantasy. Fantasy is supposed to be just a separate aspect that you can add it to almost any story. It wasn't supposed to be a genre of its own. Well, how did we get to a point where all of a sudden everybody's mistaking fantasy as its own genre?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
I'm flabbergasted how we made that mistake. Maybe as fans following fans. I don't know. But what's
real quick, we have a couple comments that came in. I just want to at least address those comments. Imagine those TV. I think while Tani herself embodies a lot of research and creativity, I'm not so sure about OEL 2.0 yet. Imagine those TV said that.
Heavy like a Chevy.
Then we have Che Baker. Good questions, great responses. Love it. Thank you so much, Che. Imagine those TV. I agree with Tani as it relates to the genre wholeheartedly. Okay. All right. And for those who are just coming in, make sure you go ahead and throw a like up and subscribe to the channel too. If you're just now coming in, make sure you hit the bell if you want updates, because if you don't hit the bell, then you're not going to know when we update, even if you're subscribed. So that's something you always want to make sure you do. All right. And also, very quickly, I do want to bring up the Honeycomb Hideout podcast. Definitely a podcast you guys want to check out. For any of you guys who like a great listen, you want something while you're on a drive, a nerd podcast that talks about everything you want to know about in terms of, whether it be talking about, hot topics, controversial topics, you name it. It covers all bases, whether you're a Star Wars fan, Marvel fan, whatever. They talk about all the nitty gritty and get deep with it. It's kind of like Howard Stern for geeks is the best way I can describe it. You can find it on Spotify, and we'll put a link down below as well so you guys can make sure you check it out. So make sure you give it a follow.
Hey, anybody, any creators, whether you come from gaming, music, pottery, animation, we all some way somehow get tied into pop culture. So yeah, check out the Honeycomb Hideout. All right, so back at it. All right, so Ms. Tani, what we were just talking about pretty much, kind of the scope of OEL here. But I know I was kind of looking forward to seeing where before, when I was asking you the question of were you really self-taught, or did you kind of learn some of the stuff from elsewhere, maybe your prodigy or something. But I was hoping to hear whether or not you got some of this loose information from other folks of the first wave generation of OEL, or was that the case?
I learned a lot from them from my own self-taught way, just learning, doing my own research. So
okay, so I mean, that's one of the reasons there. I mean, we have whether we didn't dig enough or it's just so elusive out there. I mean, information on what the first generation did is just really just spread out there, right?
Yes.
I mean, aside from that, have you sought mentorship outside of SCAD itself?
I do have a mentor. at a publishing company. Won't reveal which publishing company, but I've been working with her, and she's been helping me a lot with working on my new project. So
Okay, I like that. I like to hear that. You know, so is this mentor just, I guess I just like I'm a little nosy, I'm a little curious. Is this more on like the art tip or the writing tip, or both?
both.
Both. Okay, interesting. Okay.
Okay. So it's for sequential works, comics or mangas, like
Manga. Well, mainly manga.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a few more comments that came in. Let's see here. Shay Baker, I think social media created the narrative in regards to blending anime and manga, so people are following copies of copies. Ray Hama, the Hama Force. Peace to all of you guys.
Peace.
And Antoine Swift, L for MMPL. Okay. I feel like there's some meme in here that I'm not knowing of, Antoine. I'm like, and it's going over my head right now. I don't know why. I feel like there's something that I'm missing, I'm not understanding. Imaginos TV. Mentorship is important. Yes, that it is.
Okay. So what? Let's say. Okay. I noticed you went to the MomoCon convention. I don't know if that was just recently, or if that was just or if the last time you went was 2018.
It was this past May.
Okay, this past May.
Yes.
All right. How's the convention scene looking for you? Because I know it's been.
It was really
it seems
good.
like it's been kind of coming back.
It was really big, and it was really good. I did really well. I sold out my comic on Saturday, so I ran out of merch Sunday morning. So I kind of just relaxed and enjoyed the con for a while. So
congratulations. Oh, you sell out the first hour or what?
I sold out around, what was it? It was around 4 Saturday. So
oh wow,
100.
Okay, that's okay. That's actually nice. So, do you have what other conventions do you have plans to go to later on this year? Like, are you gonna? Well, actually, you know what? I'm just gonna be quiet. I'm just gonna listen.
I'm waiting to hear back from AWA, but other than that, I'm just working on book 2. So
I was hoping I was gonna hear Youmacon somewhere on the list, because that's over in our neck of the woods.
Way to go, get out.
That's why I was like, let me see, is she gonna say Youmacon? But I was gotta up Youmacon because that was like, I can't speak for Nico, but that was my first con, so I have like a special place in my heart for Youmacon. So.
Okay, so well, you're not going to be a Youmacon. Forget you. Let me stop. No, but anyway, you are. I'm not sure if we get a connection delay here.
Are we lagging a little bit? There we go. Okay, we're good.
Cool. All right. So going back to the panel thing, what's you got any plans as far as what more you're going to do with the craft? I mean, where's the series taking you?
Well, I've planned out the series to be 5 books.
Yeah.
So it goes to beginning and end. Everything's been story written out. I'm just building it into the comic version of it now. So
the comic version.
I mean, as the manga, as the pages.
Okay.
Yeah.
I went way over my head. I'm thinking you're like over here trying to do some dual powers here. All right, I got a manga version out, but come on with a Western comic one. Like, oh, hold up, we got a different conversation.
All right, I'll be like different styles. Be like, okay,
All right, so what's because I believe I heard in one of your recent interviews that you had some publishing opportunities that you can really speak about. Is there is there any particular company that you're working with now, or
Yes. I won't say right now,
okay?
just disclaimer, but I've been working with them for another story. I actually pitched them Seeds. They really liked it, but they wanted something different instead of fantasy. So I'm working them with another story for them to publish for me. So
They would want something other than fantasy. What you had in mind as far as genre?
um, I'm doing. It's more of a magical girl.
Magical girl.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Somebody like key the Sailor Moon song. That would be nice if we had one. I had it on here, like Sailor Moon. Let me make sure I don't do that too much because you know how YouTube be. Like
Well,
we sit up here, video be down right after sighting off.
About to have a research of the magical girl genre. All right, so I'm assuming you can't go too much into details on that project. Okay, fair enough. All right, so I'll ask it this way: why magical girl?
It's actually another story that I had. I just happened to have at the time, and they really liked it, so they figured, why don't you pitch it with us?
So, what's your favorite magical girl story then?
My favorite is Sailor Moon, and then my second favorite is Madoka.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. No, I did. I do know a lot about Madoka. I was supposed to have been finished that. To be honest, I feel bad. I did promise somebody I would. Anyway, so the magical girl genre is what's going to be based is where the story is going for. What is this still tied to the self-worth vision as well, or you got
Yes.
something? Oh, okay, it's still going with. I don't know if you were trying to mix it up, spice it up or something,
so do you feel like
you do intend to do that
to prepare for? Actually, no, I'm curious about this. Right, like to prepare for this story, like have you had to go through any like different process artistically? Like have you found yourself having to like kind of like do research, to kind of really dig into the nitty gritty of it to make it like different than some other magical girl stories out there? Or
Not really. I've had this story for a while, and I just build upon it every so often to adjust it to be more modern. And now that I have an opportunity to actually work on it, I feel like it'll just do. It's a story that I personally liked since I've one of my favorite stories I ever created, and so I feel like it should be fine. I've seen a lot of magical girls like Pretty Cure and
Uh-oh.
I think we're having a little bit of a delay on our end just for a moment. But while that's going on, I will say make sure you like the video, like always, and subscribe. And hit the bell if you're already subscribed and you just haven't hit the bell, because that's the only way you're going to get updates. Let's see here. What is going on? Bear with us just for a moment, folks. Oh, there we go. All right,
okay,
we're good.
Cool. As you were saying.
Sorry. Okay. I feel like it should be fine. It's really different. It's something I wish there was when I was growing up, but it was never created. So I'm creating it for everyone. So.
Okay. That's nice. So it's like almost like a childhood dream come reality.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I like that. I feel like right now, with this burst of creativity you're kind of seeing out here with the wave of OEL and everybody kind of having um, coming forth with a lot of their ideas or IPs or interests. What do you define as the difference between like a hobbyist and a professional?
Well, I know from my time at Scott, if you're getting paid for it, you're a professional. But that's basically it for that. But it also means dedication, like you're still working at it, even though it gets hard. And sometimes you want to quit, and that's the difference. The hobbyist will do it for fun, but if it gets too much, they may quit halfway or just stop at the end. While a professional keeps going and knows when to take breaks, um, when it's time to really sit down and think about what type of project you want to put out there.
Let me let me ask you then. For those that are watching you, what what advice do you have for them as far as if they want to get into this industry? You know, we're talking about those that may want to be a manga creator. They may try to want to lone wolf it, or they would do their own self studies. You know, what would you advise them?
Go for it. Just put yourself out there and keep going. That's the main thing. Just start. Just go for it. So
Any pitfalls you would advise them to avoid?
Don't doubt yourself too much. Like if you feel like
Okay, connection issue again.
I almost want to do a freeze frame. Oh, there we go.
Go ahead, please repeat that one.
Put yourself out there. Don't be afraid or doubt yourself, because that will if you don't just throw it out there without being perfect. You doesn't have to be perfect. That's something I had to deal with. So
no, that's a good point there, because a lot of folks fall into that trap of trying to put their best foot forward pretty much from the get go. You know, you got that passion project you'll start off doing, right? Your first time getting out there, and kind of I think funny Chan said best. She mentioned how too many folks they'll do their passion project first, do it where they're 100% energy for it, but the problem is you can't keep up that 100% energy all the way. It's like you get to treat this profession like a what would you say, like cross country instead of track. It's like it's for the long run. You can't do 100% and like you're doing track for cross country. It's like you gotta go set about 60% here, and then you kind of save your energy to do that final 100% burst and near the you half a mile close to the finish line or something like that. A lot of creators fall into that trap, apparently. Obviously, where they get burnt out so early on, they can't meet deadlines, they can't even build up the motivation or what have you to even keep doing the project. They're like, oh my gosh, this is what I get myself into.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I mean, that.
So how do you feel about when it comes to like doing a page? Because I've heard people debate, time and time again on how long it should take somebody to do a page. And if you ask somebody, maybe Western creatives, the average, and obviously there's a lot more work that goes, or I'm not gonna say necessarily more work, but more time that goes into making, like, let's say a Western comic. They may say it takes at least 10 hours to do a page. So what do you think is like what would be considered like a reasonable amount of time for a creative to do a page? What do you think people should shoot for?
There was more connection issues. Go ahead. Okay, go ahead. Repeat it, Irving.
What is the reasonable amount of time to you on how long it should take for a creative to do a page for a comic?
Really bad connection hiccups now.
Apologies, folks, to all you guys that are watching. We're just having a little bit of technical difficulties in this episode just this time, but we're going to get that back on track in just a second.
Okay.
All set?
Yeah.
Okay, did you hear the question in full, or?
Yeah, I heard it.
Okay.
I know in Japan they do like 20 pages a week. For me, I can do 3 pages a day. That's the average for me. So
Wow. Okay, that's quite a bit. 3 pages a day. Interesting. It's like how would I say? I'm trying to think of the best way to put it. Like it sound, that's amazing. I'm like that's truly
I mean,
amazing.
I already called it out. I mean, I guess you're a prodigy or something. Like, what the heck? 30 pages a day? You talking about laying out the pages, penciling, inking? Oh my gosh! What kind of what kind of freak of nature? What you're over here spicing it up? What? Anyway, all right. So, someone of your caliber, are you the humble type or you like to flex?
I'm humble.
Cocky. You're humble. Okay. Not like Janet. I see. All right.
Dang.
All right.
Shots fired. Shots. We love you, Janet. I just want to make sure I say we do love you.
Hey, we got prodigies over here. Hey. All right. So I'm gonna ask you just like I asked her. Then, you got any rivals in this industry? You got somebody you got a bit of a friendly rivalry with, or a mad competition with? Somebody you look and be like, all right, I got to one up you.
Not right now. Not at the moment.
Not at the moment.
I like how you said not right now. Like it's like, hey, not to say that eventually.
You look around and you don't see any competition. You're like, no, not yet. Okay, well, I'll keep climbing. Hey, OEO folks, get it up there. Get your skill up. She don't see nobody. Oh my god. Hey, humble, but that subtle flex. Let's get it. All right. So, no rivals. Obviously, you mentioned one influence. Did you have any other influences for your craft?
Let's see. Tatsuya Nomura, Kira Amano, the person who created Utena. I forgot their name.
Oh, Utena. All right, that's the second person we had on the show. Second person we had on the show that mentioned it. Utena seems to be kind of like that hidden kind of gem to for what I gather. I feel a bit proud of her. I saw it myself. It's different. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Who else do I? And it's just there's a lot of people in top. Azumika Nakamura, she's the one that did Graduates. If you've heard of that one, I really like her style and how she paces out her stories.
Okay. Now, if you had to choose, and it can't be any of the, it can't be anybody that you just mentioned.
Real quick, Kunihiko Ikuhara. That was a name. I always forget it. It's like a tongue twister. That's creator of Utena. For anybody else curious.
Now, real quick, I'm curious, right? If you had to choose someone to collaborate with on a project, who would it be? It can't be any of the ones that you just named.
Okay. I have no idea. I wouldn't mind collaborating though, but
interesting. Okay. Now, if it had to be one of those people you named, who would it be?
I would like Akira Amano.
Akira Amano, okay.
Akira Amano.
Oh wait, I know. Gotoko Sensei, the person to make Demon Slayer.
Okay, Demon Slayer. Okay, and it took me a minute more. I'm like, I should know, because I'm like, Demon Slayer is like the shit. Everybody loves Demon Slayer. And that's the one series that I haven't really read the manga of it, and when it comes to the anime, I'm only on season 1. I haven't finished season 2 yet, or I haven't gone on to it yet.
The manga's really good. It's really my favorite manga because the story is perfect. The story's perfect.
Yeah, no, it's a great series. I mean, I caught up on the manga too, so I'll give it to him. It's one bomb story. It's like he put the pen down on that one.
Now, where do you want to, when it comes to your story, if you had to choose a format for it to be adapted in, how would you want it to be adapted? Would you rather it be something like some creators, they may release it in the form of movies, or they may just do an anime series. Would you want Seeds of Doubt to be like an anime series, or would you prefer it to be more of like a movie or movies?
I like anime. That would be something that would be really cool to see.
But I'm saying, would you prefer it to be like an anime series or like anime movies? You get what I'm saying? Like kind of more like,
anime movie.
Anime movie. Okay.
Yeah, like
I got
2 movies. And yeah,
okay.
definitely.
All right. So
No worries.
we're getting ready to move right now to our final question, guys. For the for our time. But before we do that, I do want to actually say, did you have a question that you have first?
I like a little more of a emphasis on the styles you came up with some of the characters, because they are slapping. I see like some or some, what do you call it? Because I know you mentioned them all earlier, but I'm seeing some. I see some Kingdom Hearts in there, but I do see some the World Image of Jew up in there as well. I'm just curious if that came up.
Yeah. I kind of just wing it when it comes to designing my characters and their clothing and stuff like that.
For sure. Okay. Roll with it.
All right. We all have goals. We all have our image of how we see ourselves and what we want to do. For you, obviously, you're in the beginning of your creative career, but how do you see yourself, or what do you want to see from yourself by the end of your creative career? What is your end game?
Seeing my manga in bookstores. That's my end game.
That's your end game?
Yeah.
Okay. So you just
I'm not letting you get away with that. To what end? Why?
I don't know. Just seeing my books in bookstores like Barnes and Noble and all over the world and stuff like that. That would make me really happy. I mean, I would love to see an anime of my comic or manga one day, but just in bookstores, that's a pinnacle. I mean, that's when I know I made it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get it in bookstores, you get your anime, and that's it? Is that where you're at?
Yeah.
Okay. That's very nice. And that goes and harks back to your humility. I appreciate that. Okay.
That was awesome. That was very simplistic. Awesome.
All right. Well, before we head out, did you have anything that you wanted to talk about as far as you already mentioned, obviously, the one project you can't talk about, but is there anything that maybe we should know about, like the Seeds of Doubt? I believe you upload, like every Monday, I believe, every
Monday, yes.
Every Monday on Webtoons. But is there anything else that we should know, or anything else you want to touch on?
Not this time.
Okay.
Yeah. When should we expect the mysterious news?
Next year or the year after.
Season?
Spring.
Okay.
You heard it, folks.
You heard it here first. All right. Thank you so much today, Tani, for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. I do want to encourage everyone to go ahead and follow Tani on all her social media platforms. We already have that down in the description. So you can find her on Instagram under Curry Tani. You can find her under on Twitter, and I believe it's under Curry Tani, correct?
Yes.
Curry Tani. You can find her on both those platforms. You can go to her website. You can pick up her manga. If you want to buy her manga, you can get it right now. So make sure you do that. It's definitely something that's an easy read, good read. So you want to make sure you pick it up. You just heard her say that her manga sold out. So you want to make sure you go ahead and get it while it's hot. Because you never know. And I'm sure, I could be wrong, but if I'm like, can people get it signed or a signed copy from you at all?
Yes.
Okay. So you can get a signed copy from her on that. So that's directly from the creator itself. For any of you guys who are collectors out there, these are the copies that you actually would want, is from the creator herself in the very beginning stages. So With that being said, also make sure you subscribe to Shining Otaku and like the like button, hit the bell so that you get any updates. We'll see you guys, of course, in 2 weeks. We'll have our next guest announced, and you guys can go ahead and follow us there. We have how many more episodes left in this season? 7 more episodes left in the season. I believe I'm counting right, but I don't know. I might have the math off. Who knows? You have anything to say, Nico?
Yeah, folks. Hey, check out the next episode. Obviously, we're getting closer and closer to answering. Obviously, more about the gap between OEL first generation, OEL second generation, and coming up to solutions and answers. How second generation can really, take this further. Do what first generation had trouble doing.
And also look out for the updates for Killbox, which is the new manga that we have coming out very soon, hip-hop battle-related manga that you guys are going to definitely check out, especially if you are someone who are into sports manga. This is definitely going to be for you. And it has a hip-hop flavor to it, so it's a little bit different than a lot of other stuff you guys have seen out there. With that being said, thank you guys for watching. Hit the bell again, and we'll see you guys later.
Catch you all later.